Everyone, it's Lisa Sweeney here from Business and Heels, and I'm here with the lovely Enrica from Global Forwarding and Here, There and Everywhere.
Hi everyone.
So we're having a little bit of a chat today about the fact that women starting value-driven businesses, as we know, are the fastest growing sector in the economy. And Enrica is really no exception, and she has some really strong values about supporting minorities. So please tell us.
Yeah, thanks Lisa. So since the last live, I'm pleased to report that we have 2 new members of the team who are male. So we're balancing our gender diversity in the office. So why minorities? Because women-owned businesses and women entrepreneurs are still considered as a minority, even though we control a really good part of the economy, and we're becoming a very fast growing group of employers in the SME sector. So I have a very close affiliation with other minorities because that's a part of my supply diversity, advocacy and beliefs, you know, in the disability, the veteran, LGBTIQ space, but in particular with the Indigenous, and that to me is a historical connection. You know me know, and I'm happy to share later on in our journey, you know, the very strong connection I have with Indigenous Australia and some of my closest friends. And some of you who know me know my friends because I've introduced you, and the work we do through the Melbourne Business School with the Murrah program. The Murrah program is so close to my heart, I can't begin to even, I'll get really emotional. So the Murrah program is an Indigenous masterclass. It's a masterclass, it's a mini masters that Melbourne Business School, which is Melbourne University, conduct through sponsorship, private philanthropists, and we help identify Indigenous up and coming entrepreneurs and put them through the masterclass, the business school. Fantastic. The friendships and the bonds that are created are lifelong. They're amazing, and it's a give and it's a take. So we get to engage with them, they get to engage with us as entrepreneurs in different areas, and we're meeting people that we wouldn't normally meet, like, you know, people who are working in the Pilbara and doing some amazing things up there, like running kindergartens for the employees of mining sites, and I would never meet a kindergarten teacher who
from the Pilbara.
I'll meet the truck drivers and the forklift drivers, and I meet all of them, but not the actual kindergarten teachers, and it's really enriching. Quite, and you know, you've
been doing this for ages too, haven't you?
I have, yes, I have. So I was doing it in a very non-formalised way with Cairns TAFE. And then they cut a lot of funding, as we've seen in other states. Funding's been cut through for the TAFE sector, and which is a big mistake because TAFE do great things. You know, I did a TAFE course that was a lot better than the actual course I did at university. So I'm a big believer in the TAFE system, in the TAFE sector. But anyhow, so Cairns actually removed a particular course that was really good for getting our truck drivers accredited and our Indigenous truck drivers accredited and then into the workforce. So I then started looking for another avenue to invest our resources and our time. And I came across one of my good friends, Jasmine Harrow, who suggested I contact, Jasmine. I have to introduce you to Jasmine. Jasmine then suggested, why don't you speak with Melbourne Business School? They have the Murrah program. It's structured. You're not just putting money willy-nilly anywhere. You actually see what you're doing, and you can then collaborate. It was the best outcome. I'm so grateful that Jasmine actually suggested I do this. So then I got to know the key players, Dr. Michelle Evans and all the other academics around the Murrah course, and it's been great. So
Enrica, tell us, you know, obviously this goes back, you know, you're quite passionate about helping Indigenous people. So this goes back a while, you know, why?
Because I come from, my parents are migrants, and I'm a I'm in the female business space, so I've got the two minorities kind of bookended by. I grew up with a lot of prejudice. So as I was growing up, Australia in the 70s was quite a difficult place to grow up in. So there was, a lot of racism and cultural innuendos and, not great words that were used to describe, new Australians. I was born here, so I'm very Australian. But I just felt that there was a very strong connection, and the discrimination that my Indigenous counterparts feel, I've actually felt too.
It's a really relatable thing.
Really relatable thing. Very ancient cultures. So I come from a very ancient culture. I'm sure that I'm not really interested in my family tree. I couldn't care less about it, actually. But not all of them are great people. But my parents are great. Hi, Mum.
I was going to say.
Good books. But the rest of them, no way. So... but I'm sure that if I go back, it would go back thousands and thousands of years. And so there's a lot that I could say about ancient cultures and with a lot of, history passed on.
And I think that's fantastic. And, obviously you're not just passionate about it, you're doing something about it, which is so true of women in businesses. And this is what we're talking about, these value-driven businesses. And Enrica and I got to talking earlier about the fact that there are so many women starting these awesome businesses and product-based businesses, and of course coming to you every day of the week chatting about, well, what do I do about this free freight thing? Because it is a bit of a marketing thing. And so people have led consumers to believe that free freight is the norm. But of course we know that there is nothing like free freight, that you have to pay sooner or later. So we thought we'd have a little chat about, what maybe some of the different strategies might be, just to get you thinking about how to tackle free freight in your own business, because getting the right business model is really important.
Yeah, it is. So thanks for, I've had some really good feedback since the last live, emails and phone calls and texts, which has been really encouraging. And feel free to just pick up the phone and if I can't speak with you, I'll ring you back. Look, there is no such thing as free shipping. I can't sugarcoat that. So
no, it's real.
So we have these, great people who call and say, look, I'm a startup. I have an online business. I've got a great product, and I'm sending to China and Taiwan and the United States and all around Australia. But I can't pay anything for shipping. And it's like, well, sorry, I can't help you on that one. There is no such thing as free shipping. So it's in the struggle when we start up these great businesses that start from an idea and then they morph into something more, and then, then we start to build them up. It's in the struggle that we actually create innovation. Innovation will always happen when we're on the edge. And I know I'm on the edge, off the edge and on the edge pretty much all the time. And so that is where innovation starts and creation begins. And that's a great place to be. When we can create what we want to create for ourselves, our businesses. So with the shipping part of it, it's either factored into the cost of goods, or it's a flat fee, or it's per kilo. It has to be something. Because as I've explained to a few startups, if the shipping equals your margin and you're doing it for free, it will not be sustainable.
No.
And you will not be doing yourself a service, and that's not the way to be running any enterprise. So I understand that, businesses and startups in particular want to keep their costs as low as possible.
Well, and look, startups need money more than anybody else because, you're usually investing heavily in the products to get it up and going. So some of the choices people need to make is how to cost it in, and often the territory that they're willing to ship to is a big determining factor of that too, isn't it?
Correct, yes. And we have very high costs in Australia, so our handling costs are really high. So I think that no matter where we're sending to, I mean, we can do Melbourne Metro to Sydney Metro next day delivery for $5. But of course, that all just depends on the size of what we're moving. So, like they'll ring up and they'll say, we've got a box to move to Sydney. Okay, that's great.
So there's a box. There's a box. There's a big box.
There's a big box, which then leads us into a further discussion, which is the reason why I don't want any of this in our platform. I don't want the whole online quoting, because I want to see the people behind this business. I want to actually know, feel, and get an understanding of what you're moving, why you're doing this, what are your drivers, what outcomes do you want to achieve, because that way we can then,
yeah, because then you can help. So you've got to appreciate that Enrica's got a wealth of experience. So the idea of not getting her involved is silly, because there's lots of great ideas that you can make. And so for new businesses, you could choose just to ship to Metro, right? You don't necessarily have to make your goods available to Australia, China, and America. And the minute you go outside of Australia, gosh, what happens to the freight then?
So two things, two suggestions or two tips is to look at the packaging. Because sometimes it's a box, which could actually, if it's not fragile, depending on the item, especially textiles and clothing, you can actually move it into a soft satchel, and that removes the box. So that removes weight and volume. So it also then brings it down from the parcel area into the satchel area. So there's an automatic saving there. So one of the questions I always ask is what's the product, and two, how is it packaged? Let's look at how we can do this differently if we can. Sometimes we can't, but often we can. And so even changing the packaging and changing what we call the specs or the specifications will then change the metric, the pricing metric behind it. So any way that you can, as a startup or an online business, that you can save money will help you. But we're also very realistic in.
So if you're marketing your business, I think you have two choices. You can either go and include the freight in the cost of it, and know that the value is going to be more expensive, so you need to evaluate a bit. But you've got lots of examples where people don't include freight in their first cost.
Yes. So recently, I've made it to my credit card's detriment. I've made it a bit of a thing to start ordering more and more online, because I actually want to see how it's working, how quickly I'm getting. My son is great. He's just ordering.
I can help you out.
He's ordering stuff online without telling me. So things are turning up, and then he gets the tracking, and he said, it'll be delivered to the office tomorrow. And I'm thinking it's another bike part or it's another fishing rod. But I'm actually seeing then, thanks to him and, the millennials, you've got to love them. So I ordered I spent some time up northern Queensland over the Easter break, and I knew I had to work, and my eyesight sort of with age, it's not great. So I ordered a big monitor, because the small one.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. So the glasses, no glasses. So I ordered a monitor, and I thought, okay, let me see how quickly I get this up there. And I was kind of thinking, I hope I get it there in time. So I ordered from Kogan, thinking it'll be cheap, it'll be quick, and when I got to the checkout, the shipping was, I think, around the $30. The monitor was around the $90. So that's a third of the price.
Yeah. So you think they're cheap, but actually,
that's right.
Not necessarily. And so, but you're invested then, so you've gone to all that trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I thought was really funny was I'm buying a monitor for $90, a good Samsung monitor, which at Officeworks was more expensive anyway, and then you'd have to go there and pick it up and whatever. And there was heavy rains up north, so I didn't really want to be out and about too much, just in case the roads were still flooded at that stage. So the good thing, it did arrive on time. It did arrive in one piece, but it was $29 for the postage, which I thought was quite a lot. But so if Kogan are not doing it for free, why should you?
Yeah,
that's my question to the startups and to businesses like.
Well, and look, what we're seeing too is that in the value driven, you've got to sell your values, because at the end of it, people are embracing you and your products. There's always someone cheaper.
Always.
There's a Kmart down the road, but people don't choose to buy your products against Kmart, right? So what you need to do is be really clear on your point of difference, and don't swallow your whole margin up in your in freight.
Oh, and the other observation is insurance. Okay, so with our courier services and with most, insurance will be included. Well, Australia Post don't have insurance included. You have to buy that extra. So that's really important to also, things do go missing. In the world of moving goods around from one place to another, and from one van to a truck, and from a depot back onto a van and to another van, things do break. Accidents do occur and things do go missing. So it's really important to have that insurance, depending on the value of the goods. But I think it's a really good thing to have.
Yeah, and it's another decision to make, and it probably comes down to the value of your products. Do you get insurance or don't you get insurance? Do you, if your goods are, say, sub $20, it might not be so important.
That's
so
right.
You need to think about the overall price of what you're shipping around as to what the value is.
Correct. But if it's included in your then it's great. It's a good thing. Yeah.
So if you're doing all these wonderful quotes and think you're getting apples and apples, you might actually be comparing apples and oranges. So
Correct.
Ask those questions. And this is what you often don't know as a new business owner, do you?
No.
And so again, this is a good reason why to maybe pick up the phone and have a chat with Enrica, because at least, she is very passionate about women doing well, and she will tell you what the different options are, and whereas other companies may or may not.
Yes, I'm passionate about everyone doing well. I embrace entrepreneurship, male, female, and everything, all inclusive of that.
I know. I pulled out women specifically because we've got enough things going against us.
It's just after the last live, I did have a gentleman ring up and he said, "Do you work with men?" And I was like, "Excuse me." Yes, I do, every day. So that was just no, we're not a female only logistics business, but so that was just a bit funny. Entrepreneurship is one of those things that I really encourage at any step of the way. I think that, and some of you actually know that my advocacy in this space is becoming quite vocal, and I'm annoying a few politicians, and I will continue to do that because I still believe that government does not take small business seriously. We don't really have,
the voice we need.
We don't have the voice we need. So that's just one of my. So you'll be seeing and hearing a lot more of me in that space, unfortunately. But it's good. Just to actually.
It's harder to step up, and this is what. Well, it is. It's harder to step up. Most of us are so busy. Taking the time to represent others is great.
And as a sector, we are a large employer, and so we need to be taken more seriously. The upcoming budget in May will be a testament as to really how insignificant we're viewed. So by the policymakers. So that's another area that drives me every day to doing what I'm doing. And it's through meeting. It's through. Sometimes we don't convert the leads. We. Either because they've got good arrangements or because it's not free. But speaking with speaking with entrepreneurs and startups in particular, at the moment we've got a big community of startups that are contacting us and
I mean, look, I should just stress you've got a great solution too for those that are importing from other countries, in that you've got that option to freight forward and to warehouse and to do the pick and pack. So that's something for people to consider, because freighting in from other countries can really, really, really kill your profit. So certainly have a look at that. So if you want to catch hold of Enrica, the contact details for the website are on there, and we'd love it if you liked her page, because here, there and everywhere Parcelquik is really just taking off now, is it?
Just taking off. So we're a bit slow in the whole social media thing, getting there.
That's all right. We love it. So appreciate that. And if you've got any other questions and you want to tag it onto this video, please feel free to do so.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye.